Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Welcome to the very first episode of Sundays with Sakeenah, the podcast. I'm your host, Zena Chaudhry, and I'm so excited that you're here with us today. This podcast is all about conversations with women who are real, honest, vulnerable, and powerful. We want to talk about the issues that shape our lives, our identities, and our communities. Every month, we'll sit down with a woman who brings a different perspective, a story, or a spark, and we're here to learn, challenge, laugh, question, and hopefully feel a little less alone in this world. Today, we're starting with a topic that means a lot to us, Muslim women and identity in sport. With a Muslim woman that means a lot to us, our very own Sakeenah Canada ambassador and superstar, Shireen Ahmed. A journalist, scholar, and one of the leading voices on race, gender, and Muslim women in sport, Shireen has been pushing the conversation forward for years, and we're thrilled to have her with us. Shireen, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So,
What's up?
Shireen and I have known each other for pre-Sakeenah time, at least 10 or 11 years. Is that right?
You took pictures of me once at a football pitch.
That must have been 11 years ago.
It was a long time
I think that was 11 years ago.
Yep. And they were good.
She hasn't been able to get rid of me since.
Vice versa.
No, I don't want to get rid of Shireen. And one of the things I love most about Shireen is how real she is. Her love of sports is, before I even had met Shireen actually in real life, I knew how much she loves sports just because of her Twitter, now X, now Instagram handle, Footy Bed Sheets. And I was like, this is the most interesting handle I've ever seen. And I would see people retweet her. And I'd be like, who is this person? And then when I finally met her and I was like, okay, everything makes so much sense now. And yes, I think one of the first times I talked to you and met you was when we did that photo shoot of you on the soccer pitch, right?
Yeah, I can't even remember what the catalyst of that was. Like, what was that for?
I think you needed photos for an article or for a magazine.
Is that what it was?
And you wanted some shots of you on the pitch.
Okay.
And then you wanted to do some Bollywood-esque shots as well on the pitch.
Yeah, I remember that. I always asked for that, like hiding behind the tree. Like,
yes,
da-da.
but except you hid behind the goalpost.
The goalposts.
Yeah.
Correct. They were awesome.
Yeah.
You should
And so-
redo that.
Yeah, I should redo that with everything else as well. And one thing, as we all know about Shireen, is her love of sports and how she has brought that love of sports to so many Muslims and specifically Muslim women as well. Growing Muslim identity in sports, especially that of Muslim women, has been something that a lot of people have attempted and a lot of people have worked towards and still are working towards. And Shireen has done a wonderful job of kind of balancing that and bringing Muslim women into the forefront of sports, especially through journalism. And I want to start by just asking you, Shireen, when you were younger, how did sports show up in your life? What led to your love of sports?
Shout out to these fabulous questions, Hafsa. I think the way that sports came to me was not like I didn't have the tools to figure it out or you have the vocabulary at the time, but it was, I think, a combination of sort of resistance and rebellion in a way. My parents just thought I was really hyperactive and needed me to like chill out a little bit. So they put me in soccer and it made sense to me on the pitch. So started playing soccer when I was 5, and all the characteristics that I had as a very precocious child of being like very focused, quick, talking all the time, communicating all the time, those were really valid and necessary as a striker in soccer. I wasn't playing striker per se, like mini soccer, all these little kids like a herd of bees run after the ball, but that was useful in that position. So all the things that society told me not to do, like don't talk too much, stop being so assertive, those were necessary and made me a really good soccer player. So it came out that way. And also growing up in Halifax, predominantly white, like I think I was one of 3 racialized people in my entire grade and one of less than 10 in my entire school. And I was excluded microaggressions, macroaggressions, like being the only person not invited to a birthday party in grade 2. I still remember that guy. I Googled him last week just to see where he was, to be mad about it.
I do that all the time.
All the time.
Let me Google people that randomly pop into my head from childhood.
Yeah.
Usually they're bullies.
Because those kinds of traumas you don't actually forget. And while I'm invited to enough parties now, take that, William Patnode.
We're going to keep that.
is 100% is legitimately something that stays with you for first time I was actually racially abused was on a soccer pitch when I was 11. First time someone called me the P word. And it was like, it's a moment that has stayed with me. Like I still get chills when I think about it because I'm reduced to 11-year-old child again with no agency and having no advocacy on my behalf. So sports came in and was complicated. It wasn't perfect. Like there was very few girls playing ice hockey. My mother put me in ice hockey with my brother. And I was really interested in body checking people. We weren't allowed in that league. And then the parents were complaining. And then I took my helmet off. And I remember the mother goes, "Oh my God, it's a girl." And my mother had to apologize to all the little boy moms who were upset. Because I was really interested in cross-checking them. Like, it just was such a cool concept. Like, I loved ice hockey. And I thought it was so great. And I wanted to be like people on television who were checking people into the boards, but you weren't allowed to do that when you were like 6. So fair. But soccer was my first love and always has been. Like I've dabbled in racket sports. I mean, of course I played badminton. I'm brown. Squash, but
Cricket?
No, not cricket. And yeah, I have a weird relationship with cricket. I'm in it for like the parathas and the kebabs in my family.
Early in the morning?
Yeah. And the chai, but I will defer. I do love covering stories around cricket, but I've never like fallen in love with the sport the way that I have soccer. Like rowing, I rowed crew for a while. Like it's just, yeah. So sport has come at different phases. And when I was young, I think it provided me a place to feel included when I wasn't always included.
So you mentioned so you kind of hinted right now at your love of sports and how it led to where you are today. So when did that turning point happen where you were like, okay, I love soccer. I love sorry, can I call it soccer or do I have to call it football?
No, both are correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm so used to calling it soccer, but I don't want to offend.
No, like globally, I'll say football. If I'm working in Europe or Australia or somewhere else, I'll say football, depending on who I'm speaking with.
Perfect.
It's okay to call it soccer.
Okay, great. So when did that turning point happen where you were like, I love sports, but I also want to cover them for a career? Or was it not a career? Was it just you were doing it for fun and then all of a sudden you were like, I want to do this for a career? How did it come to be where you are today and the powerhouse that you are in journalism and sports, especially when we look at Muslim women representation? But I would say even if it wasn't about representation, like you are, I think, one of the number one journalists in the world covering sports from the angles that you cover it at. So how did you get to that point? Like where was that kind of that mindset? Where did it come from?
Number one in the world. Did my mother pay you to say that?
Yes.
That's very kind. That's very sweet. But I think at the essence of it, I'm a storyteller and I like stories. And I started out writing in sort of an ethnographic form about my experience in hijab bans because my interest in covering sport came from anti-oppression lens. Was why are Muslim women being excluded? And this came from a FIFA ban. And I've been very fascinated with Iran, and we'll talk about that more, and their passion for sports and their very talented history of women in sports, yet their the way that women are oppressed in that country and suppressed from participating societally in sports. It's very bizarre, but I always find that fascinating. So when I heard in 2011 that qualifiers for the Olympics that the Iranian women's team was banned because they wore hijab, I started to look into it. Mm-hmm. And then what ensued was a FIFA ban after 2007, where things had started to, that's where the root of it came. And I wrote letters, like actual letters to different federations, to FIFA, and didn't get a reply. But I was looking because the topic that was stated, like the reason for banning hijab was safety. And I dug into it more.
The reason that they gave was safety.
That they gave, yeah. But there was no documented history anywhere in any federation that I contacted that there was a cited injury of a woman being injured by hijab or the opponent. Jewelry, yes. Braids, jewelry, earrings being ripped out, necklaces. Jewelry is supposed to be removed for footballers, but there was like documented incidences of those, not of hijab. The worst thing is like I've played with hijab for a huge part of my life and it falls off and then you put it back on. So no one gets struck by lightning, nothing terrible happens, like fine.
The world doesn't end.
The world doesn't end. Usually my teammates, if it happens, will kick the ball out to buy me some time to put it back on. It's just a slip-on one, whatever. So all of this to say, there was ways in the stories that I wanted to tell, and some have like impacted me personally and professionally more than others, and some stories that I want to tell. And sometimes I'm not telling happy stories. If I'm talking about racism or sexism or gendered Islamophobia, they're not fun, but they're stories that need to be told nonetheless. I get to do fun stuff sometimes. I'm fun. I'm delightful. People don't realize that. They think I'm cantankerous and angry all the time.
Until they sit with you.
Yeah. Then they're like, oh, wait a minute. You're actually funny. And I'm like, yeah, but I need, I talk and
That's
write
the best
about,
compliment that someone could ever give, in my opinion.
Is that you're funny?
Is that, yeah. I would, that's my favorite compliment to ever get. But once I tell people that, then they're very conscious of not saying it to me. Keeping me on my toes.
You were funny though.
Thank you. Thank you.
Throw you
my
off
head
guard.
is too my head is too big for this room now.
No, but also the stuff that I talk about is deeply serious and impactful to some people. And so having to be able to balance it out, because the beat is tough. Like, I'm not going to talk about abuse all the time. It's tough. Like, you want to have some levity. Like, for example, the people who work at Sakeenah and the staff are some of the most wonderfully funny, loving people I know, although the premise of the organization is to help survivors of horrific situations. So while you need that seriousness and attentiveness, you also need to offset it with joy at some point, because that's a form of resistance as well. So I take that into consideration and I do stuff, and I'm deeply unserious about myself. Never take myself too seriously. I also have children that are like, yeah, okay, mom, whatever. I joke about that. People are like, well, how do you stay so grounded? I'm like, have you met my children? Like, the first time I was on TSN Sports Center, I was pretty excited. Like, it was a pretty big deal. Not just being like a racialized hijabi woman on Sports Center, but like just being on Sports Center. They just don't invite randos, you know what I mean? So it's a certain level. And then I was like, told my kids, guys, I'm on Sports Center. They're like, yeah, that's nice. Can we have quesadillas for lunch? So that's sort of the vibe. But anyway, all of this to say, oh God, we're digressing. So I'm digressing. I apologize. How did I want to do it? So I started writing about my own experience with hijab. You talked about footy bed sheets in the name. That's actually not about linen. That name didn't come from me. I do love linen, however, but it didn't come from that. It came from me being on the pitch and a woman saying to me, what's on your head? What are those bed sheets?
So I never knew that.
That's where the name came from. And I had blogged about it in like 2012 and started a Tumblr blog about that experience. And I'm not, and I had mentioned, like, when I play soccer, people are like, oh, wow, look at her breaking the chains of patriarchy. And I'm like, bro, I'm just trying to put the ball in the back of the net. It's really not that complicated. Like, I think about playing differently now. Like, wasn't trying to accomplish anything other than just be a player. Like, give me the space to just love this game. And I feel like that when I play still. Like, I'm just out here to play. And, so I started writing, and then the Huffington Post started to pick up my blogs, and they were great at exploiting labor. So wouldn't like pay me, but just be like, well, you already published it, so we're just going to do it. And it would go viral. And then I started writing, and getting work in Canada in media was absolutely excruciatingly difficult. I worked more in the UK around football and more in the United States than before I got an opportunity in Canada. It was really, really tough.
So you talked about playing sports and how you felt as a Muslim woman on the pitch. What about in journalism? What about in your line of work? How do you feel there without obviously throwing yourself in front of the bus?
I think for me, I was really lucky, alhamdulillah. Like, I have a path that works for me. I had a plan that worked for me. And the first was to create community. So I've created community within journalism. Like, I'm known to be a mentor to younger racialized journalists. So wherever I go, one of my colleagues mentioned, you have ducklings following you everywhere. Like, I have a whole...
And I've met some of them at your house.
Yes, you have. And the point is to encourage those who are racialized or from marginalized groups that they have a place here. Because Canada is historically a place where media is white and male, able-bodied, cisgendered, straight. Like, that's just what it is. So I'm not that. I'm not a man, a white man. Surprise.
Surprise, surprise. This is why we're doing a video podcast, by the way, so everyone knows.
But it was really tough, and I don't want other people to feel that they don't belong. It's not an issue. if there's not enough space out here. There's enough room for different lenses and voices, and it's more impactful to talk about a story or present a story in that way. And the only thing I'm precious about is providing opportunity for the next generation. And I'm really serious about that. I'm like, oh, hi. I was at the NSL, the Northern Super League final, and I was about to go on camera. And Christine Sinclair was standing there, and I had somebody following me with a camera, like a student. They're fourth year students doing their documentary project on me. So I had the student following with the camera, and he was losing it. He's like, that's Christine Sinclair. I'm like, calm down, Nevin. Come over here. I'm like, Sinky, this is Nevin, he's a student. And they got a photo, and he was sweating because I was like, we're going to completely normalize this because it's normal. So like it was, and I think I was joking with him later because he was on cloud 9. He really was.
I can imagine.
He really was. And it was so sweet that interaction had happened, but also like to normalize it. And then also people in the press box, I have students around me all the time, and we just formulated that way. And I tell them that journalism and media is one of the only places industries where your students can become your colleagues immediately. And I love that. And I kind of have an auntie vibe. I have a student who was in the press box with me, and I'm like writing a column, and she's like dancing beside me. It was her birthday yesterday, and I posted the video, and she's trying to get my attention and be silly. And I'm like, kya kar rahi ho, bibu kufi kar rahi ho. And it was funny because it's a bit of that, but they need somebody to help guide them. I didn't have that. I also wasn't 22. I was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years, alhamdulillah, and then went in my 30s into work full time. And the industry changes so fast. It has, I've been here for 15 years. So having some guidance, like what applied to me won't necessarily apply to them because times are different, platforms are different. There was no TikTok, there was no Instagram, but those are very viable ways of telling stories. You can absolutely practice proper journalism through those mediums. And I believe that.
So what's over the past decade or over a decade now, what is the best story you've told or covered in your opinion? And it doesn't have to be the most joyful story, but it could be, in your opinion, the best, most impactful story that you have covered and told.
Well, there's two. I thought about this and it stumped me. This question stumped me because I've done a lot of stories that I feel are really important. And there are always that like intersections of like racism or something like that. But the one that has stayed with me the longest is one about a Somali runner, middle distance runner, named Samia Yusuf Omar, who participated in the Beijing Olympics in 2008. But she died while trying to cross the Mediterranean to Europe and flee. Oh, wow. She drowned. And her story, it hurt to read. And I read about it, and I wrote about it for a magazine. I think it was a Malaysian magazine. And I wrote about it. I did some original reporting for it, but it stayed with me, and it has stayed with me. And it was harrowing to hear her story. And I wrote about it in 2012, so it was a long time ago. The one that I still think about is the story of a young woman named Sahar Khudayari, who was a Persian, like an Iranian young woman, who was a huge football fan. And in Iran, if people don't know, women are not allowed to access football stadiums. And they've been fighting about that for decades. And I work closely with an organization in Tehran called Open Stadiums that tries to lobby FIFA and lobby specifically for football. They can't watch any sports, but it's specifically football. So Sahar Khudayari was a young woman who was a huge fan of Istiqlal FC, which is one of the big teams. And they had blue supporter scarves. And she wasn't allowed in, and she was arrested because she dressed up as a man to access the stadium. So when she came out of her initial court date, she set herself on fire and died. And I just was like, that has stayed with me because the injustices committed against women in the name of sport by people who uphold policies that are unnecessary is just, I think it's kind of seared itself into my core. And when I report or, share or opine on sports, it always comes from a justice perspective because I believe deeply in justice in sport. And that story, talked about it in my TEDx talk. And I actually almost cried while on stage, which was a little bit awkward because it wasn't part of the plan. But talking about it, it still affects me. And I wrote an opinion piece for the Globe and Mail because I was so angry. I'm like, how are other football nations complicit in this? How can you argue that you care about women when this is happening? Like, accessing sport is a basic right. Like, Iran boasts incredible teams that compete around the world, but you won't let women go and sit in places like, bro, even in Saudi Arabia, they're sitting in stadiums now. You know, like, it's really not that hard, and the justification for why not is not good enough. I'm not a theologian, but like, bruh, come on. Like, if you provide a safe environment, women and children can go and attend. So that's the stuff that I think about and keeps me up at night.
So how do you think representation has gotten better since you started, or do you think it stayed the same, or do you think it's gotten worse? Where do you stand on kind of how that trajectory is going?
Okay, so in fairness, if I'm in a Maple Leafs press box, I'm the only racialized woman in that press box. I don't cover Maple Leaf games, and like, I have no interest in doing that. But
because you can't hit them into the boards.
Because I can't hit them into the boards. There's some characters I like on the Maple Leafs. That Swedish lad, what's his name? He always goes to Sugo, this Italian restaurant.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh my God, Nylander.
Okay.
Nylander. Yeah, I've seen him on the subway once, and I was like, hey. I'm not like, I don't love men's hockey and the culture around it. I do love women's hockey, though.
I do too.
I do. And that press box still, while very white, is still more gender balanced. Soccer is different. The Northern Super League had a lot of racialized young journalists. In fact, for the semifinal, Montreal against Toronto at York Lions Stadium not very long ago, I was going to take a selfie and be like, oh my God, look at the melanin, because it never happens. And it was fun. So it's changing. I'm seeing, and it's no mistake that I'm seeing more racialized women in my classroom. Like, that's not an accident. I know they're coming because I'm teaching that class. Yeah. Like, I know that circulating that this is a safer space. You can get support, you can get guidance, and it's moving a mountain, like, but 1 millimeter at a time. But I'll keep pushing.
That's good. 1 millimeter is better than going backwards and not 100%. Moving at all, right?
100%. And you could argue that society is going backwards. Like, 5 years post murder of George Floyd, 5.5 years, the disinterest in justice, inclusion, diversity, like, basically put anti-racism is going backwards in this country.
So you obviously have experience playing sports. I know you have experience coaching sports as well. You coached, I know, like a women's team to their gold. I've heard stories about this, that you were a tough coach. Women would fall and you'd say, you can fall, but you have to get back up. There's no option. So I've heard all these great stories before I even met you. Wonderful, wonderful stories. But they got gold. So at the end of the day, it was all worth it. What barriers do you see Muslim women facing that the general public may not know of or realize that are barriers?
I think it's twofold. I think there's so many assumptions about Muslim women being a monolith. Like, because I present a certain way, that I will have my politics a certain way. I face that a lot. Like, people meet me and will automatically assume that I'm transphobic or homophobic immediately. They don't even know me. They haven't even spoken to me, but they will assume certain things. They will assume that my dad or my husband decided that I should wear hijab. I'm like, bro, I didn't even have a conversation with them. And ironically, neither did my daughter. She consulted her basketball team before wearing hijab, because, you know, that's how you consult on serious, deeply religious issues, is your
basketball
team. Point guard. Yeah. So there's all these preconceived notions about, but I'm also really clear that, like, I don't represent all Muslim women, and I'm not trying to. I represent me, and that's really important. So it's those ideas that we're all the same, or you're doing something for this reason or that reason. And that can get really, that can be a huge barrier. I think also access to sports. I think I live in a place in the GTA where the needs of women to access sport are fairly well known, like in terms of having, like, wanting to swim, then the women's only swim. I remember about 20 years ago, I was contacting the head of a community center, and I said, so a woman swimming, And she was so excited. She's like, we've absolutely, women only lifeguards. We're so ready for you. I'm like, yeah, you see all these windows?
Yeah. And our community centers do have so many, especially at pools, floor to ceiling windows.
And I was like, I love that she was so excited. And she goes, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, you know that everybody outside can see inside, and kind of the idea of modesty is not exposing yourself. So we got to figure out the windows. And she was stunned. She completely didn't even think of that. And I was like, look, this is not a knock against you or the effort. And she was so disappointed because she was going to do this big launch. And the big launch just had to be delayed until they could find money for.
Yeah.
And
that's the biggest
thing. So it's things as simple as that. There have always been grassroots movements. I remember taking my son to a swim all the way in Northeast Toronto when he was a baby, a women's only swim. So people were actively doing this in different communities. Like we talk about, or you've mentioned that I've done so many things. Like, alhamdulillah, I've stood on the shoulders of people who've done it before me. So whether it's organizing, mobilizing community swims, which are huge. Muslims love swimming. Not
to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
But I never learned how to swim. I started wearing hijab in grade 3 it was my choice. I think it was just me and one of my other sisters who started wearing it. I think at that time my mom didn't even wear it. She wore, like, in South Asian culture we have dupattas, so she wore that.
Yeah.
But I never learned how to swim because when my class in grade 4 and 5 would go to the swimming pool across the street from our elementary school or down the road, I wouldn't go because, like, there's no such thing as a burkini back then.
No.
And, like, you couldn't just wear tights and a t-shirt because the material wasn't
or
the material
jeans.
that... Yeah, knowing me, I'd be in jeans. But I never learned how to swim. And just this past fall, or I guess this past summer, when I was traveling to Southeast Asia, I had a couple of the places I stayed had private pools, like at the villa. And so I finally learned how to float. So now I'm like, I can survive. If I fall off my boat while I'm fishing, I can survive. But we should all wear life jackets just to be safe.
100% life jackets, but also swimming is a life skill. And I think it's really important, and having access to that. Plus, one of the biggest barriers in my research and my work has always been equipment. And one of the things, like, there are ways and places in which people are really listening to their athletes or their communities or their parents or the children. There's a school in Hamilton that I spoke at years ago because one of my close friends was like, come and speak at my school. I'm like, okay, you know me. I find it hard to say no. So I went and I spoke with the staff, and they had ordered matching hijabs for the uniforms to the same color. I think they were like bright purple, but when you're like 12, you'll wear a bright purple hijab. It's fine. But to match the school color uniform, they were that thoughtful, and they raised money for it, and they got everyone in the school to help raise money.
That's amazing.
And but it's one school out of many, but I feel like there's progress. So equipment, I think also in Canada, we have a very traditional pay-to-play system for youth that can be an inhibitor. And so there's organizations like Jumpstart who pay for registration fees and access fees, which are really important. And I've worked with Jumpstart before. I think they're really important for grassroots communities or marginalized communities that don't have the money for that kind of thing. And it's important. And there's scholarship programs at various soccer clubs that can help, sort of cover the costs for people. So definitely access to equipment, safe equipment, good equipment. So there's a lot of barriers. And then there's the institutional issues. There's the racism. There is are the coaches actually trained on how to deal with stuff like that? I mentioned to you that the first time I was racially abused, I was 11. My coach had no idea how to deal with it. So that creates an environment that's not actually safe. So I am very interested in who's coaching my kids. People will call me and say, do you know anything about this coach? I'll do some sleuthing. Just because I also think that education and training is important. Because if you don't know how to deal with an issue, very simply, I did an article, a column a couple months ago on menstruation in sport. So many male coaches were like, we had no idea. And in fact, I got a message from somebody on the athletic staff at Brock University that coaches were like, we never even thought of carrying hygiene products with us, and now we do as part of our on kit. It's something that's so basic.
I know. And it just doesn't come to mind for people.
Doesn't come to mind. And it's something that I feel really passionately about, that to not create something when you're using your body for something, the body cannot be a shameful thing. So there's progress.
Which is great. But if we look to, I guess, the next generation of girls, what do you hope that they can access that we didn't have an opportunity to access?
I think support from community, first of all. Like, I really hope that the rhetoric even within our community shifts a little bit. We do have so many sports leagues for women only, whether it's softball.
Shout out to Sisterhood Softball League.
SSL, like the OGs.
Shireen tried to get me in years before I actually joined. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that.
And I just ghosted.
You ignored the email, actually.
I ignored it. It was a Facebook Messenger chat. And you connect me with one of their board members. And I completely ghosted you both. And I was like, I'm not playing softball with people who don't know how to play softball. And little did I know that they were amazing at softball. Good. Amazing.
And so then my other claim to fame is not only you, it's introducing like the arguably all-star forever into that league as well. And just being like, I love that, the growth of community. I played for a little bit in the first season. I worked every weekend, so I wasn't able to come. I think that has become such a beautiful form of community. And be it basketball, we see leagues popping up across. Not all cities in Canada have access to that, but in bigger cities, you might have that. What I want essentially for the next generation is to be more clear than I was when I was their age. This is what I want and this is what I need. Can you help me? There are people out there with the resources that can. I really want our masjids to start paying attention. There's like 2 mosques across the entire GTA that I know are actively supporting programs for women. Out of how many? 2. Like Muslim Neighborhood Nexus in Mississauga and Tariq Mosque. And those are the only 2 that I know. So, IIT. So that would be 3. So if there is programming for girls, they're not averse to it or don't make it an impediment. Like, oh, no, you can't do this.
Right.
And because that seems to be the visceral reaction sometimes of men who are boards is no, we can't do this. Well, why not? And I like to push to ask why not. And I think it's necessary for women to have access to our masjids in particular, our community centers. That's really important to me. And I hope it changes. But I mean, men is a whole different podcast episode.
Coming soon.
So that's what I want for them, inshallah, is to have opportunities and know that they're supported, because it's a confidence piece too.
Absolutely.
When I coached Muslim girls in middle school for over 10 years. The issue was never skill. I can teach someone how to head a ball or receive it 1 touch pass. It's confidence that you can't teach them. And that was the biggest hurdle. Was confidence.
There was a study that came out a few years ago about it's not specific to Muslims, but girls who drop out of organized sport once they hit puberty, and how it lowers the level of confidence in them. And it was such an eye-opening piece that I think the year that it was released and years following, and I think still until today, I reference it so often with my friends who have girls who are in sports. And I'm like, you have to keep her in sports because obviously the child also has to like be keeping up with school and things like that. But you have to keep her in sports because it helps with confidence. And it's one of those places where they learn so much leadership. They learn about teamwork. They learn about camaraderie. They learn about loyalty. They learn so much from sports, more than just playing the actual physical sport. So
the report that you're actually talking about is Canadian Women's Sports released this, and it was 4 years ago, and it was speaking exactly of that. And we all reference it because we know the rates of when they drop out. We also know that the 90% of women in executive positions in business played high level sport. So we know what it can do for them in the future when they stay in sport. So those things are all correlated. And the research and data is finally coming out for us to know and be able to say, here are the numbers we need to help change policies.
No, thank you for the source, because clearly I didn't keep that in my mind. But I 100%, I think that the confidence that people get, and I can speak about myself, is when you play sports and you have people who are on your team, and even when you strike out and it was a great pitch and you didn't make contact, you have people in your dugout who are saying, hey, you'll get it next time, you're an amazing, just having that behind you, and it just sets something in your mind for your life that, hey, even if I mess one thing up or I don't do well at something, there's always another chance to do it even better the next time. So I think that sports, I definitely give a lot of credit to sports, obviously first and foremost to God and to my parents, but I think sports had a huge role in my life, at least, for me to be able to trust myself enough to take on leadership roles and positions.
And you are such a team player. This is the thing, the skills that you learned on the pitch or on the diamond or wherever, because I know you're a very, very serious softball player. I remember I was at a tournament and we were playing at, and I was like, oh, I'm going to go say hi to Zena. And 3 people were like, don't talk to her right now. She's locked in. And I was like, yeah, but it's me. And they were like, doesn't matter who you are. Relax, Shireen. She's not going to want to talk to you. And I was like, ooh, that's a good point. But my point is, you are a team player, and those skills that you learn in sports, you can take. Like, I take a lot of what I learned in sport professionally. And yeah, that same idea of like, we're in this for the same thing. Let's share resources. Let's share ideas, and like, let's be collaborative, because you are collaborative when you're playing a team sport.
Absolutely.
So I think that what you're saying totally checks.
And I mean, we had a lot of questions today, but I want to leave open-ended for you. What is one thing you want Muslim women to know? What's one point you want to make sure that you get across today?
Our bodies are an amanat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we have to take care of them. And it's a part of our spiritual practice to take care of ourselves as well. And I mean, we keep hearing like the commodification of self-care, and self-care is so great. So our self-care is actually built into our practice of faith, like not just the meditation piece, the prayer piece, but also being mindful of not overextending yourself in ways. And I've been looking a lot into that, and looking a lot into, and a learning for me, to be honest, is about not overextending. And this grind, it's a capitalist model that's really grinding us down to ways that were not meant for us. And how do you slow it down? Like, I have 2 phones. I work all the time to a point where, it's almost like there's no even capacity to be able to manage a family crisis, because I just don't have time. And that's not a way to live. And I don't think it's part of the sunnah either.
No, absolutely not.
So trying to manage, maybe you should start fishing.
We should do a podcast episode on the boat.
On the boat. Oh my God, that would be amazing. And just to be able to, even if it's a walk. I remember I went out with had a coffee date with a friend of mine, and he's like, yeah, let's just, get some coffee from this cool place in Ossington. And we walked, and it was the fall, and I love the fall. Alhamdulillah, it's my favorite season. It's so beautiful. And we sat on a bench. I'm like, this is crazy. We're just sitting on a bench watching leaves fall. And he's like, are you okay? I was like, no, but it was so simple. It didn't have to be. It was just enjoying the space and not picking up my phone, not engaging. And I'm in a world and an industry where immediate responses are required. I'm not going to lie. We've been sitting here for about an hour. There's a part of me that's anxious. I haven't looked at my phones in that time, but that's okay. I blocked it
you're
up.
getting back to about 80 emails and messages 100%. And calls.
But it's okay. Last month, my phone died. And I didn't have it.
I remember that. Oh my goodness.
And it was actually quite liberating. And I'm trying, I'm going away, inshallah, with my husband. I'm not taking my laptop. Whew. And that's okay.
It's okay. You need that time to recharge and reset.
I do. And I think as opposed to just taking a week out to relax, I would like to build in that practice. And that's what I would tell my sisters is build in the practice of enjoying each other. I was in Denmark. I was invited to a summit of organized by an Afghan woman named Khalida Popal. And I love Khalida so much. And she had women from all over the world, and us enjoying those spaces, just being with each other's companies, sharing ideas, women from all over the world working in football, soccer. Just the TikToks were amazing, but also just us being with each other. It's okay, especially when there's genocide in Gaza, when there's crisis in Sudan and in Congo, you feel so heavy all the time. And there was a part of me that felt guilty, but part of that resistance to these things is the joy that we have with each other.
Absolutely.
It's a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have fun with our sisters while not losing focus on, what's really important, but we're okay to love and laugh with each other. And that's what I would say.
I think that's one thing that I find, like you hit the nail on the head. It's that community that you have in these spaces where you have common ground, you have common understanding, common goals and ideals and things like that. But you have space to have fun and learn and relax. And honestly, you know what? If I could, I would want to pay out of my own pocket for everybody, like especially young girls, whether you're Muslim or not, to get into sports or try a sport, because it seems like we're just sitting here talking points, but really sports changes lives. It really, really does. And it doesn't have to be hockey. It doesn't have to be soccer. It doesn't have to be something super cardio heavy. I don't like cardio very much, clearly. But for me, sports is so important. That's why I play softball, because there's not a lot of cardio involved in it. Which my mom is not very happy about.
I hate running.
Because I get to first base and I'm like, I need a courtesy now. And my mom is like, stop being embarrassing and run for yourself. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'll try. But even fishing, I got into fishing, and people don't believe fishing is a sport. Fishing is 100% a sport. I got into fishing because I want to spend time with my dad. Mm-hmm. And that's how I got into fishing. And fishing is probably the greatest joy in my life I have is fishing. It is just the most relaxing thing that, in my opinion, that you can do. It's exciting. You are hanging out. It can be fast-paced.
You glow when you're on the boat. You have a glow.
I am telling you, like, I'm thinking about fishing right now. I'm just thinking about like hooking a fish and reeling it in and that feeling. And it's just the most amazing thing. But again, if I was sitting alone, I don't know if I would like fishing as much if I had to do it on my own, but I always had someone there with me. And for me, I think that was great too, because it was always like, okay, we're together, but we can sit in quiet if we want and just fish until I ask my dad like a million questions, poor guy. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that, you know what, having these spaces is so important. And I hope that everyone gets to experience that at some point.
And so the wheels in my head are turning now as you're talking, like I've got ideas about things, but I do agree with you. And sport isn't for everyone. And we're not saying that, okay, look, you've got to be a competitive D1 athlete. That's not going to be for everybody. But one of the things that I've also learned, which I want to remind young women that are listening and their parents, that there's jobs adjacent and within sport. Well, you could be a sports lawyer, you can be an agent, you can be an official, like the pay's really good. Like you can be involved in sport. You can be an actuary if you like STEM, do your math, become an actuary. Clubs and organizations and teams are hiring a lot. Like Seattle Kraken, their entire like analytics team is women. Oh. Like for an NHL team. Like these are things that are really important to know. So there's ways you can be connected to sport in addition to being healthy. Like we're not talking about size. We're talking about health, mental health, personal health. These are all things that are really important. Like just even going for walks. I hate walking famously.
I like walking. I can walk, but don't ask me to jog.
No, I feel
run.
like running.
Not for me.
I don't even like running. I'm a soccer player, so people are like, that's weird. I'm like, no, because I sprint. Like I can sprint, and then well, right now I couldn't, but I'm out of shape. But like, there's ways in which what I do and how I move empowers, and that's the confidence piece. Like, not everybody. It's not going to hit the same way. I meet people who run marathons. I'm like, you run voluntarily? Why?
This is how I feel. But whenever I see them online, I'm like, I could do that. Then I have to go like down a block and I'm like, oh God, I can feel like blood in my throat. I can't do this.
We can walk briskly. There's a Niqabi that I follow who's a marathoner who lives in New York. Yeah. And I'm like, Allahumma barik laha, lady, but like, why?
Are you voluntarily just running? There's no one behind you.
Why? But it's, people, that's the beauty of sport. You can't help which sport you fall in love with.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I wish one day I can fall in love with a sport that involves a lot of running.
Okay. Like we can make that happen. We can make that happen.
Maybe. I played rugby in high school. We
talked about this.
Some running.
Rugby's a lot of running.
But you know what? There's a lot of distractions as well. So there's times that you can go and catch your breath.
I can see how you would enjoy the chaos in rugby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it too. I played scrum half. I loved rugby, but soccer.
Eighth man.
Oh, nice. Nice. Respect.
Okay. We're going to move to a quick fire round.
Oh, fine.
Are you ready for it? I know you haven't seen these questions.
Okay, I haven't.
You don't know what I'm about to ask.
Okay.
They're fast and fun. Okay.
Okay.
They're unrelated to our topic mostly. But I want you to think. I don't want you to think.
Okay.
I want you to just answer what comes to mind. And you don't have to explain.
There's a lot of instructions.
Yeah. And you don't have to explain. I'm trying to catch you off guard here.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Do you need time?
No.
Okay. Are you ready? Mm-hmm. Okay. Coffee, tea, or something else to start your day?
Coffee.
Morning person or night owl?
Night.
Mountains or beach?
Beach.
Sweet or savory?
Savory.
Favorite way to relax after a busy week?
Watch Golden Girl episodes or Law and Order.
Favorite sports to watch other than the ones that you have to cover for work? Oh. What a blessing that you get to work watching sports that you love.
Yeah. Biathlon.
Can you explain what
It's a
biathlon
winter
is?
sport where you're cross-country skiing and then you have to lie down and basically shoot a target. It is crazy.
Like with a gun?
Yes.
I don't know where I've been that I have never heard of this.
It is. You are such high cardio and then you have to pause and center and shoot. I also really like archery.
That is.
Archery. So shooting sports.
Okay. We should go hunting sometime.
I would love that.
We'll plan it for next season.
Okay. Did you say hunting?
Yes.
Okay.
You can come for target shooting.
Okay. Yeah.
There's places that if you come with someone who's licensed, they allow you to target shoot as well.
Fair.
Okay.
I feel weird about guns in a societal context, but this contest is totally fine.
No, hunting for animals.
Yes.
That we then consume.
Yes.
No, not hunting for sport.
I have been asking you for duck for a really long time.
I will get some duck for you.
And
my father recently went moose hunting, so if you are interested, we have some moose as well.
Isn't it gamey?
No, not at all. Venice, deer meat is.
Yeah.
But moose is super tender. It's like taste. You can use it as a sub for beef, and anything that you cook beef with, you can use that.
I would be very
and
interested.
it is so tender and so delicious.
Yeah. Okay, I'm down.
There you go.
Yeah.
Text me to remind me.
I will.
Let's cut this part out. Okay. Dream athlete or journalist you'd love to interview?
Zinedine Zidane.
There you go. One sports moment you'll never forget.
Canada winning gold at the Olympics in 2021.
Can you believe I asked my sister this question yesterday in preparation for today? And she said the exact same thing.
Huge.
Exact same answer.
It was huge.
And I was like, how do you remember the year? She's like, how do you not remember the year? And then I felt,
it was technically 2021,
sorry.
but it was the 2020 Olympics
Yes.
in Tokyo. Yeah.
Favorite book, movie, or TV show right now?
I'm reading, Omar Al-Aqad wrote a book called One Day They Would All Have Been Against This. And he's a journalist who wrote a book. He left journalism to be able to write fiction to tell the truth, is what he said.
Wow.
And he was speaking specifically about media and the role in covering the genocide in Gaza. That book broke me in many different ways. And I'm also reading Arundhati Roy, who's my favorite thinker, philosopher. Mother Mary Comes to Me. And as far as favorite movie, it's like Bend It Like Beckham Forever. And yeah, so
I know you reference it quite often.
A lot. A lot. And I even interviewed the filmmaker, Gurinder Chadha.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, years ago. And that was huge for me to be able to talk to her about the film, which was really big. And they're doing a sequel, but I don't know, I have thoughts. Different podcast
Sequels
episode.
don't usually work out the way that everyone imagines they're going to work out. So,
and as I mentioned, Law and Order, original series, Lenny Briscoe.
not Special Victims Unit.
No, I love Olivia Benson, but part of the thing with me and Law and Order is that I've seen every episode at least 5 times for the 20 seasons. Okay. So I'm not like, I kind of know what's going to happen. And SVU is like traumatic sometimes.
It is.
So
it's very traumatic.
it's hard to watch sometimes. So,
okay. If you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
don't listen to men. And that's part of my personal practice.
Except for your dad.
Except for my dad. Actually, he always says to me, you don't take direction. And like, part of that was an exploitative thing for me to try, because what I wanted access to was also gate kept at the same time. So when I say don't listen, I'm not advocating to disobey your parents. Don't disobey your parents' kids. But it's okay to push to a certain degree, because sometimes, particularly Muslim women, are just told no for no good reason.
No,
and I
right.
won't accept that.
Okay. My favorite question that I ask everybody I meet, and sometimes it catches them off guard and they never want to meet me again, if you knew it was going to be your last meal, what would you eat?
My husband makes the best oxtail in the entire world.
Waiting for my invite?
You don't need an invite. Come over. I'll be like, bro, Zena's coming over. He makes the best oxtail, but it's ruined to me because I can never eat oxtail anywhere else. And mac and cheese. He's perfected a mac and cheese recipe. So oxtail mac and cheese, really.
Oxtail mac and cheese or oxtail and mac and cheese?
Oxtail on top
of mac and cheese.
Yes, it is to die for. It is incredible, alhamdulillah. It is so delicious. And then I'm a big, like, nihari. I don't make it my specialty is halim, but I love nihari on chicken pilau.
Wow. Okay. Never heard of that.
Yeah.
Never heard of people doing that.
I love the gravy and I love the rice. I'm a rice girly. And then I would really like a salad to go along with. I don't know why I would care about my health at that point if it was my last meal.
Yeah.
And copious amounts of sparkling water.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Still pretty healthy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Maybe mine's the mac and cheese part. But yeah.
Along with all of
There
it.
you
And
go.
mint tea to end.
That was great. Thank you. I know we kind of delved into some of the questions there, but that was great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Where can people who want to follow your work, how can they follow your work?
So I have a website. It's shireenahmed.com, www.shireenahmed.com. I used to be super active on Twitter, but now it's all fascism and porn bots, so I'm not there anymore as much, like very rarely. And on Instagram, I'm trying to TikTok without like embarrassing myself too much, but you know. So I'm there and where else am I? I think like I'm on Blue Sky.
Well, we'll add all the links where you can follow Shireen.
I'm on LinkedIn, which is now like the coolest place to
LinkedIn
be.
is very, very cool.
It's happening.
Shout out to Henna for telling me to get onto LinkedIn and actually use it.
Yeah, no, LinkedIn's actually really good. Like people connect there. And then you can also find me avoiding Ridgeway Plaza.
So never at Ridgeway Plaza.
Except when I need to grocery shop before 11 a.m. on Wednesday.
And then you go there.
Then I go there.
Thank you, everybody, so much for listening to today's episode of Sundays with Sakeenah. A huge thank you to Shireen for taking her time out and coming and blessing us with her presence. It means a lot. Shireen is extremely busy. Right before we started, she was part of a press conference. I know she has to go because she has classes, she has marking, she has so many things to do. And we want to thank you, Shireen, for coming and one, being a part of the podcast, but two, for being such an amazing national ambassador for Sakeenah. It has meant the world to us. And I know to so many people who look up to you and who have come to us because they've heard about Sakeenah from you. So the amount of people that you've actually helped is, I can't even count the number. So thank you for everything that you've done.
Alhamdulillah. Can I just say something really quick?
Yes, always.
You know, I think you're a fantastic human, an exemplary person. And this organization means a lot to me because I know and have seen, experienced the help that you get. It's so unique in the way it operates and the intentionality behind it. And it's one of those things that we don't want to have to need, but we desperately do. And it's one of the things, and if you can get involved with Sakeenah and support it, it's one of the greatest honors that I have. I wear this pin everywhere. Love it. And I believe in it fully. I wore Sakeenah colors today.
Thank you.
Because, and alhamdulillah, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you endlessly and the team that do so much every day for everybody, because like it's unmatched in my opinion.
No, our team is alhamdulillah amazing, and we have an amazing community that surrounds us and globally to support us in doing the work that we do. And you're right. We wish we didn't have to be here. We wish we didn't have to do the work that we do. And when someone asks, oh, what's your vision in 20 years? I'm like, that we're all out of jobs and the organization does not have to exist anymore. That is my goal and my dream, inshallah. But until then, we are here. We're here to help. We're here to listen. We're here to do whatever it takes to help everybody that is in need. If you enjoyed this conversation, please follow the show, leave us a review, and share it with someone who you think might love it. You can find us on Instagram at Sakeenah Canada for updates and behind the scenes content. We're taking a break for Ramadan, but we'll be back first Sunday in April with another great woman. Stay tuned to find out who. See you next time.